Hiya! Welcome back. Kintsugi Koko here. Thanks for joining me on my quirky, eclectic vlog of January 2nd, even though today is January 3rd. I'm having the time of my life trying to film this video and get it posted to y'all. I did a video last night and it was accidentally an hour long because my gift of gab could just carry on if I get on a topic I enjoy speaking about. And then I tried recording it again this morning and it happened again. So I'll keep this one short and sweet and to the point like me, right? So I wanted to talk about how we figure out who our people are. How do we know who's for us? How do we know when to let go? How do we know when to carry on, right? It's very hard sometimes for us to realize, like, who is it that we bring to our next stages of lives? How do we know when to let go? Who do we let go, right? And so for me, I don't remember where I learned this or heard it from originally. Don't even remember how long ago it was, honestly, if I'm being truthful. I'm just a tree lover who loves her nature, okay? I'm a tree hugger. I'm a tree kisser. We touch foreheads. Like, I love me some trees, okay? And so I learn a lot from the trees. I observe nature a lot to educate myself on how nature deals with these problems. So how should I deal with these problems, right? Because I am connected to nature just as nature is connected to me. I, right? We are all the divine source having different experiences, right? A good way to look at it, it's like if you're an artist drawing, right? In the middle of the room, you have the one model, and then sitting around the model is all your little painters. They're painting, they're drawing, they're sculpting, they're using oil pastel or chalk, right? They're drawing the same person or the same model. However, they're all in different perspectives and they're all using different mediums to convey their experience. And that's what I like to keep in mind when it comes to life, our peoples that we come across, who is for us, who's not for us, right? And it makes it more fun too. And keeping that perspective in mind when you think about it that way, it really kind of helps you see like, oh, okay, you're just looking at it from a different angle. That's okay. Just because you don't see it the exact same way I do, honky dory, right? But an analogy that I use to kind of help me give ease to figuring out who is it that I want to keep in my life? Who are the ones meant to be carried on? How do we know who each person is, right, for us in our life? And there was a beautiful analogy with trees that I had heard about a while ago. And that is, this is the drawing for my video for today. You have your leaf people. You have your branches. You have your boughs. You have your roots, right? And some of you may have heard this analogy before, how people are like trees, but I'm going to throw in a little cherry on the top and add in mycelium as well, which is the little fun swirlies down here in the bottom. And keeping in mind, we are the trunk of the tree, right? We are the one doing the growing and building, right, off of our roots. So leaf people, what are leaf people? Those are the people that are only meant to be in our lives for a season, right? So they come, they show us ways in which we can grow and better ourselves, right? They reveal to us little things, or sometimes you only have them in your life for a few days, a few weeks, a few months, but they're only in there for a short period of time, a season, if you will. I said, but they have a purpose, right? They feed us what we need to know to grow better, right? But then at the end of their season, they fall away. And that is A-okay. But the important thing to remember is as they fall away, we need to let them go. That is the key component, is you have to let them go. If you don't let the fall away go, you're just holding on to something that is no longer bringing life and you can't grow. And that is, I think, what a lot of people get stumped on, is not being able to let it go, right? The beauty and the detachment and the flow and the ebb and bob in life, right? Next, we have our branch people, our little branches here. Branch people, these ones are in our lives a little bit longer, a few years, sometimes up to a decade. It could take time. But these are the ones that throughout time, they kind of stop feeding into us, I guess would be the best way to put it, right? So they're not absorbing nutrients. They're not bringing life to the situation. They're just sucking the life from the tree, right? When the branches are dead, the tree's still sending it nutrients and information and trying to help it. But if the tree's dead or the branch is dead, right, it's not going to receive it. And these are people, like when there's a big storm, something turbulent happens in our lives, they fall off and they break off. It's not stable, if you will. They fall away, and that is a-okay. And sure, it hurts. If you look at the trees that have lost branches like that, it leaves a scar. It mends and it heals, but it's still visible that something had happened, right? And for these people, we can get caught up on the idea of how long we've kept them in our lives. Like, we've put so much time and energy and love into them. Like, how could we just let them go? The thing is, though, you had that love to give, and they needed that love. And Divine Source put you in their path to supply it. But it's up to you to know when to let it go and when to realize this isn't for me anymore. I need to step away, right? Next, we have our boughs. Those are our people who give us strength, who sturdy our tree, who help us have stability in our storms, right? The branches of a tree kind of like teeter and balance it, just like our arms teeter and balance our core, right? And they feed us, they transfer of nutrients and information, right? They help us through those different stages of growth. And sure, sometimes they have to be cut off because of disease or infestation, whatever, for an actual tree, not a person. However, they more support the tree and nurture it and help its growth and development, right? To further grow to the next stages. And those people I like to look at as like your for lifers. Those are the ones that are really, really there unless something crazy happens where they are removed from our lives, right? And even still, in those senses, well, the scar is still visible. You can see the connection was there at one point, but no longer is, right? Lastly, we have our root people, and I mean, I'm kind of breezing through this just because I don't want it to be too long of a video. The last is the roots, and those are where you come from, your ancestors, right? The ones that are really putting in the work for the receiving of the information, like pulling up what we need and making sure we have the nutrients and the water and that just everything that we need for our growth and our development to the next level. The roots supply that. And I find that so beautiful. Like, I dove deeply into my ancestry within the past like 2 years, and I've been able to uncover so many beautiful things that I thought were true for me, but everyone was telling me was not. Turns out I was right. So my advita to you is, don't listen to anyone else. If it feels right for you and you know it to be true for you, follow it. Always, always, always follow it, right? Next, we have our mycelium. And for those who don't know, my fun fact is mycelium, we are more closely related to than any other animal or any other plant in the world. Is that not insane? We are cousins to mushrooms, and it's beautiful. But the connectivity that mushrooms have with everything, living beings, the planting networks in the ground, like mycelium is the connection of life, essentially. Without mycelium, we wouldn't be able to have life. There would be decay everywhere. Like, mycelium really is the mitochondria of the world, if you will. for any of our nerdy friends out there. But those I like to look at as like my soul tribe, right? Those are the people that whether or not you've met them or it's been a while since you've seen them, like you have that connection. And no matter how much time has passed, if any at all, there's just that deep, deep connection. Communication is the lowest form. Like speaking is the lowest form of communication, I should say. There are eons of other ways to communicate. And so with our soul tribe, whether they are in our future, we have yet to meet them, kind of how the First Nation have always, everything they do is out of like what's going to affect the next 7 generations, right? They prey on their next 7 generations. They carry it. And I think that's so beautiful and so impactful because it's absolutely true. Like if what I do today, how is that going to affect the world around me? Not just today for me, but for my kid and my kid's kid and so on and so forth, right? And keeping that connection in mind and how it carries, right? Our soul tribe, even though we may or may not have met them, they are putting out the energy for those who are meant to find them, to heal the way they need to heal so that they can heal each other, right? And meet each other, like get to that point where they do physically connect. And it's not always a physical connection. Sometimes it is just the spiritual connection to just some unseen friend that you just have always felt connected to. And then one day you meet someone and you're like, oh my God, I wasn't crazy. I wasn't talking to myself. Like you were an actual person that I was vibing with in my head, but like you were connected, right? For me, that's how I kind of view the mycelium of the tree, right? We're always connected. We're sending each other those good hopes, that love, that courage, that healing, so we can get to those next stages. Whether or not that they get to see the fruit of the labor, that's not the point of it. The point of it is to feed each other, but not even necessarily feeding each other. Like you're feeding yourself so much that it's literally overflowing on the ones around you and those that you send your energy to, right? So to keep it nice and short and sweet and to the point, that is how I use the trees around and mycelium, if you will, to not motivate me, but just to help me remember the different phases of different people in our lives, because not everyone is meant to be in our life forever. It's sometimes they're short, sometimes they're longer, and then sometimes they're forever. So being discerning about how we interact with those relationships and how we respond to them is absolutely important for maintaining our peace and our growth, but also, and just spreading that around too, like inspiring others to do the same. Real quick before I head out, I know this is kind of like a cattywampus video, but I've just recorded this video so many times. I can't remember all the stuff I was gonna say. But I have this spiral here, and it kind of looks like this, the center, like when you cut a tree, how it's, you can tell its age by the amount of spirals on it. And it's just a beautiful representation of growth, right? So growth's not linear. Growth is not like I did steps forward, but then I fell back. Like that's not how it works. Growth is a spiral, and you're going to come across similar themes, similar experiences, and you're going to be like, God, I feel like I've gone through this so many times. You probably have, because you're probably stubborn like I am. However, that doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. You're just given more opportunities to prove to divine source who it is that you truly are on the inside. Because all the time we're like, if I was in that situation, I'd do this. If I was this, I would do that, right? And divine's listening to you and they serve it up. Okay, prove it. Show us that you will, right? So stay safe, stay warm. It's like 30 degrees where I'm at. So bundle up, keep warm. I love y'all. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me for a brief bit. I love y'all, and I shall see you in a few hours when I do today's video. Toodaloo!